Good morning. So we'll start with the disclaimer like we always do. Disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. All content is for informational purposes only, based on personal opinions and experiences. Trading futures, options, and other financial instruments involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for every investor. You can lose more than your initial investment, so always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional. Okay, next will be news. Yeah, got it all set up here, except for my pen. So news today, we've got 8:30 durable goods, Chicago Fed National Activity Index, durable good stuff, initial jobless claims. So we'll watch that. That's pre-open, so we'll see if anything happens from that. And then we've got existing home sales at 10 a.m., which usually, from my observation at least, doesn't really affect crude. So that should be all right, but I'll confirm that after. And then 5 p.m. Fed Kashkari speech, but that's way after the bell, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now we're into the charts. So I'll quickly go over the just pre-market sheet that I do. So you were able to preserve one time framing higher on the weekly, but you did break it on the daily. So daily, there's no one time framing now, but weekly, you're still bullish overall. I said we're opening in a balanced condition. You can tell we've sort of turned sideways from here. We haven't done anything major, directionally at least. So that's what I marked that down as. I said we're overlapping sideways. Again, just to reemphasize, the swing low is weak. Mentioned that. This is a weak low that likely will want to get fixed up at some point. I don't know when. Yeah, I already went through one time framing. Value area range is still expanding, I said. Because we are pushing the extremes. We had a normal variation day yesterday. It was pretty newsy, so not much information from there. And so we'll go through the key levels. So key levels, I put overnight high right here. Yesterday's high all the way up here, 63.95 area. We've got this prior day's high, 64.36, which is the RTH high. So breaking this point, and you get all into the gap. All the gap. This is all gap above, which I've mentioned before. And then prior week high, I marked down as, you pretty much so far have rejected prior week's high. You were able to break it and trade above it a bit, but you weren't able to stay above it, which is, the main thing you want to see. So I'd say prior week high for now has been rejected, just not very cleanly. And then below us, you've got these singles in this red from yesterday, a small block of singles. You've got yesterday's POC. Yesterday's POC is close to settle right here at overnight low, 62.11, but then VPOC's down here at 63.91. So I'd say this whole sort of range is worth watching. And then, yeah, like I just mentioned, you've got settle, and then you've got overnight low, which aligns with that cluster of things, and yesterday's low. So that's the pre-market sheet. So we'll go back to the TPO. So as you can see, and like I said yesterday, I think I mentioned it in my okay, that works, end of day video. But after like 10, some news started coming out relating to tariffs and some White House comments. And so once that started to come out, we got very whippy. The book got very thin. And that's why you can tell we had like a 3.3 point range yesterday. I think it was like 3.35 by the end of the day. So much larger than normal for CL. Which is why you pretty much did these past 3 days range all in one day. So I took that one trade in the morning but didn't do anything else the rest of the day. But yeah, for me, it wasn't an environment I could really trade in. It's very whippy and it's very fast. Uh, so like, you got to drop your size. Drop size and increase your stop and your targets. But I decided to opt out of that because that's not what I'm looking to do here. But anyway, getting back into the actual action, you've sort of sat sideways. You've got decent bellies down here. You've got okay, not great value up here. But like I said, you've seemingly rejected the prior week's high for now, so that may want to get retested because you did trade. There was interest here. We just couldn't maintain prices above. Um, and so that may want to get retested and sort of double checked for if there's still interest. And again, today, settle pretty much is going to be a line in the sand again today. Maybe a bit less clean than yesterday, but settle lines up with the POC, the VPOC, and overnight low. So this whole cluster of things here will pretty much be the line in the sand area. So if we come down, we bounce, and we continue higher, that would be a clean bullish scenario that comes down and tests the value of yesterday and bounces off of it. Or obviously you could not hold, fall through, and go for yesterday's low, and then everything below there is old stuff. Like there's some naked settles, naked VPOCs and stuff, but pretty much just zone to zone down there because we haven't been there since 2 weeks ago or whatever. Um, and then the sideways scenario, which probably will be avoided today because of yesterday. Like days after big news events, like either there's going to be more news that makes it more whippy, or the day traders are going to want to fix up all the stuff that we didn't do yesterday and that was created also from yesterday. Like we only really have these small singles here, but so I think we could see more of a directional day, but we may, because the range is so big, not exceed prior day's high or low. So it could end up sort of being a nothing burger day in that sense. But we've been holding above settle overnight. Inventory is pretty much all long, I think. So this test down here is going to be important if we get there. And if we don't, then I'll probably just be looking for pullbacks, right? For continuations higher. Pretty much for me today, for me to have a short bias clearly and definitively, we'll need to get below this area. So yeah, that's I guess what I mean when I say line in the sand. So it's a line in the sand for longs, but it's also a line in the sand to start for sellers. Yeah, so that's the main thing. We can look at the 30-minute and see if there's anything else, but yeah, like I said, so not super cleanly. You're probably like 60% long in the overnight inventory, 60-40, maybe a bit more. But you're mostly long, and you had this good test of settle that held, which does help out. So we may not even test the settle if this is good enough for the market. So you could see something that comes down for like a higher low and then sort of rejects and moves higher, which would basically be the same premise. Overnight value is not great. Similar to the trade I took the other day, if you, on the high side for me, if you impulse higher above overnight VPOC and you pull back and test it, that would also be in line with the hold of settle idea. If you do it from the low side, I probably won't trade it, but it's still information. Like if you impulse away and then you pull back and you hold overnight VPOC, then you can assume we're getting the test of settle next. And then from settle, we'll see if we bounce or if we continue lower. So that's what I mean. Like I wouldn't trade the impulse lower probably, but I'd know, okay, so if we hold overnight VPOC here, then we're probably going to move lower to at least test this cluster of stuff, right? So, yeah, so overnight This will be key, overnight VPOC, if we get a reaction away from it, as well as this cluster of stuff. And then, like I said, below yesterday's low is pretty much all just zone to zone. And then anything above is really just continuation for a re-break of the prior week's high, the prior week's settle. So, yeah, like I don't honestly think I need to go in any more detail than that. I think that's pretty much everything I need to say. We went through the news, we went through the disclaimer. Yeah, so let's get to drawing here because that's pretty clear for me. These are fractals, these triangles. I need to make them bigger because they're fine when crude is normal, but then once we get whippy like we did yesterday, there's so many, so you just got to increase it a bit. Whoops. Okay, so what do we want in here? Yesterday's low and prior week's high. Below yesterday's low, we're zone to zone, and pretty much above overnight high, we're just looking for continuation to prior week's high. So you've got yesterday's low. We've got this cluster. I just want to see again quickly. 6190. So it's pretty much 6190 to 6227. That whole range. So roughly 6190 up to settle. This box here is pretty much all the line in the sand range, I guess. Yep, you've got overnight VPOC. You've got overnight high. And then you've got yesterday's high. And then you've got prior week's high. And you've got the singles, I guess, too, which likely get filled up early if we open in this area. Yesterday's high, overnight high, overnight value area, singles, saddle, overnight low, yesterday's POC, yesterday's VPOC, yesterday's low. So we'll start with the bearish scenario. So we have, I guess, pullback areas, but yeah. So like if you, like I said, impulse away from overnight value, and you can stay below, then I think that's good enough to believe that we're going for settle. And then coming down into this area will be the key test on the downside and probably the cleanest for either a short or a long trade. If we get a clear test of this area, that'd probably be the clearest for me on both sides. But from here, you could bounce, or in the bearish scenario, you hold below and you continue down towards yesterday's low to recheck that and potentially continue, which again, I would just be zone to zone. But this would be the area where you say, okay, we could bounce off here, and if we bounce and we hold settle, then expect continuation higher, and I could expect this to sort of just continue higher, as high as it can, pretty much. My main thing being a rebreak of the prior week's high. But then, like I said earlier, you could also see that happen as impulse above overnight, maybe break overnight high, depending on where it is when we open. Pull back, test, continue higher, and pretty much do the same thing. Go for prior week's high. So it's impulse, test, continue, or pull back, support, continue, or pull back, failure, continuation lower. Those are pretty much the main scenarios today. On the sell side, definitely yesterday's high could yield some resistance on both, I guess, and as well as overnight high. If you fail to break overnight high here and we're still this close to it, I'd probably be skeptical that um, this holds. Because, like, again, being so close, you probably don't get the impulse. Um, if you're that close to it and can't break it, it's probably not an impulsive move, which, tells you another thing, right? It's indicating weakness from the longs, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's another good way to look for the test of settle next. So that's pretty much it. Let me just pause here and take a screenshot for myself. Okay, so here's the last look of the plan. I'm going to erase it now. Um, yeah, so again, if we do end up with news today, again, I'll probably just stay hands off, like Monday, Tuesday, or whatever, Tuesday, Wednesday at least. I, was able to get on trades early, but that's not always the case. So if I can't, and news comes out and there's nothing else for the rest of the day, I probably will just sit out, you know. And if I don't do an end of day video, that just means I didn't take any trades. If I have any trades, even if they're all losers, I'll still do a video to do the review. So yeah, I hope it's a good day, and I'll end it here and be back after the bell for the close. So yeah, see you then.